I can't even like do the. All right. Am I live? I think I'm live. Hey, y'all. If there is any y'all, I think we just went completely live there. It's Live Life Whimsically. Michelle, Ballora, who you can't see. you can never see. We don't allow her to be filmed because she's a vampire.
Yeah. Also, a tablespoon is half an ounce. So if you want 2 ounces, you could just do 4 tablespoons.
Oh, well, I mean, so a shot is a ounce and a half.
So you could do,
Yeah.
what, 3 tablespoons?
Yeah. I just did 2 and called it a day. That's probably less than what I drank last week.
It's a tall shot.
And it's a tall glass. Anyway, it's Live Life Whimsically Friday night, which is happy hour, witch in her keeper. And I have been very sick this week. But in the channel, what we talk about is whatever. And usually I go live and do my tarot reading, which I didn't do for myself today. I didn't go, I mean, I did it, but I didn't go live. And during the week, that's the thing I usually do, is just do the tarot reading, because I'm like going through some shit in my personal life. And so I said I was going to be dedicated to doing a tarot pull a day. And I have, even while I've been sick, even though I might not have always gone live this week while I did it. And I tend to get the same cards over and over again. And I got the Knight of Swords again today. And I've shown you guys this card before. Knights are always about movement and things happening, and sometimes defensive things and sometimes offensive things to you in your life. At least that's how I look at them. She might have a different idea. But this guy's running. He's got something to do, and he's got to do it fast. And he's running towards that motorcycle. He's armed, he's ready, he's going, and things are going to be happening for this person. To me, it's a lot of thought out stuff, maybe not as well thought out as it could be, but thought out enough that it's the time for change is happening now, which is just more of what I've been going through. And I personally don't want to dwell on that tonight, because I've been, like I said, been sick. So I just don't really want to do that. So I put a poll up too this week. If you pop in, before we even get all the way started, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing. And I want to shout out to Aaron from EKC People Suck and Veda Snow, and also Flava, who this week did me a really big solid and promoted me on their channels, shared a few of the things that I posted over here. Don't walk across the computer, Mr. Cisco. And I went up to 80 subscriptions today, and that made me really freaking happy. So thank you, ladies. You guys rock, and I will always have your back. And I will always tell you if I think you're effing up, just like I hope you will always tell me the same. I love you guys, and I think you're both really special women, and with lots of gifts for YouTube. So we decided, I put the poll up, and I think I got a 50-50 split, because 2 people voted, one for the tarot reading and one for what witchcraft is. So since it was 2 people, and we always start off kind of rocky, we decided we would talk about both of those things. So if you would like a 1 card draw tonight, we'll be happy to do that for you. And otherwise, we're just going to talk a little bit about what witchcraft is and what it's not. And if you have questions about it, or you think you know something, but you're not quite sure if you know that what you know is what is real, you could just ask us, and we'll explain to you what it is. I think a lot of people are afraid of witchcraft for a lot of really silly reasons. And I think you're probably more than likely doing some witchcraft in your life every day and don't even really realize you're doing it. and especially if you were born into any kind of an ethnic family, you're more than likely have traditions brought in from that background that you came in with, and are doing things that are very witchy in nature. I remember when I first started practicing back in 2001, when I went to one or two of my first coven meetings, and we started to talk about traditions from other countries. Yo, my cat is gonna just F shit up. Dude, get down. Get down.
Cisco.
I was really surprised to see how many things the Greeks did that we just did because it was the stuff they brought over from the old country, and then to figure out that was a form of witchcraft. So one of the things that was a really big deal, and since this is January and we just started a new year, and partially before I just, so you guys know, I normally fidget a lot, but I am covered in hives right now. So I'm fidgeting a little more than usual because things are still kind of itchy. And I've been taking steroids, so I might be a little stupider than normal once I get this first vodka soda down.
Oh, that's a really good way to like make an excuse. I am just gonna be stupider.
I'm just going to be
usual
stupider than usual
'cause
tonight
I'm itchy.
because I'm itchy and roidy, itchy and roidy, roidy and itchy.
Oh God.
So every year for New Year's, when we would get together as a family with all the other Greeks, my aunt, or like, what are you doing, bruh? My aunt would make this bread, and it was called vasilopita. And it's this almost like a cake more than it is a bread. And it's sweet and dense, and it's this really wonderful decadent bread that when you get it out of the oven, man, you really just kind of want to put butter all over it and just eat the shit out of it. And it has they put a little bit of honey over the top and sesame seeds, but inside of the bread dough, they drop a coin into the bread and they bake it in that way. And then you cut the bread up into as many pieces as there are people that you have at the house for that New Year's Day, and whoever gets the coin in their bread gets good luck for the year. And I found out that was witchcraft, and they believed that whoever walked through your door first on New Year's Day, whatever kind of energy that person brought into your home. This cat.
Really? Cisco.
What are you doing, bruh? Here, look it. You want this? Go get it. Whatever energy those people see, you let that dog just go get your stuff. Yeah, bro, get down. You're starting to really get onto mine. This, no one has been around us all night until we turn the computer on.
And then all of a sudden,
then everybody's here. So that energy that person walked through the door with was the energy for your year. That's what your life was supposedly going to be like. So things like that, What is he doing? Bruh, what is it? Oh, you know what it is? It's the fan, because no, I have it unplugged, so it looks like a string, and he's just trying to get that. Oh my God! So everybody that has like traditions like that, you should just Google them and look at them and see what they mean.
Cisco,
what are you doing?
What are you doing, crazy cat?
My cat is losing his mind. I don't know what's happening.
He's behind the laptop trying to either get under it or bury it or something.
Oh my gosh.
But he's knocking everything off the table in the process because he's crazy.
I wish I could turn it sideways so you could see. Oh, bruh.
Oh my God.
Bruh. Get down. Enough.
Wow.
Dude. Do you want me to lock you in the other room? Because I could do that.
You're being a bad boy.
Punk ass bitch.
We'll see Patrick. Wow. I've never seen him
No.
like that before.
He's sequestered.
He is just being a little brat.
Big time.
So
Okay, so that's my little primer on witchcraft.
So why don't you tell us what prompted your journey into witchcraft?
So, when I was young, like elementary school, junior high, my mother was always into divination.
Mm-hmm.
So I started reading cards with her very young, playing cards. My mother read playing cards. We had cards for playing cards and cards that were set aside for nothing more than magic. And if you picked up her playing card or her magic cards and you played solitaire with those, she would know. Did you play solitaire with these? And I'd be like, how the hell did you know that? And she'd be like, God damn it, Michelle, I told you these cards are just for reading. Now, here, these are yours. And she'd have to go get another deck. I was not allowed to touch those for anything other than that. But she never there was no talk about witchcraft, even though we were doing those things of the bread, and the first person and what they would do saltwater things for stuff. And they had folk magic that they did for when we were sick and things like that. But it was never called folk magic or any of those things.
Not.
Right. And then and so I had like little inklings of things, but it was the 70s, and so there wasn't a lot of stuff that you could really see. And the closest thing to any kind of a witch we had was Samantha Stevens from Bewitched, and you thought it was make-believe. That wasn't, or Hansel and Gretel or some dumb shit like that. And then, we moved to Florida. And then I went to church. But I always had a thing for the supernatural up to that point. And when I met my first husband, he actually took all my magical stuff that I had in the house, the tarot cards, everything, and threw all that stuff away, because the churches that I went to believed that all of that stuff was like a portal to bring in demons. And I remember when he took me to the pastor to talk about the tarot cards and magic and stuff, my pastor said, you understand those things can attach to your clothing and you can take them home with you, and then you can like bring in all kinds of crazy dark entities into your home, and bad things are going to happen. And to a certain extent, I'm going to say that I agree with that, because I have another story about that from after I became a practicing witch, where I knew that this situation that somebody wanted me to go into was above my pay grade, and bad shit did ultimately happen to this woman who decided to do the thing I said I wouldn't do with her. Uh-huh. So, and he just wouldn't let me have any of it. And I wanted to read, just for research purposes, I wanted to read some metaphysical books just to see what it was about, because there was just so much talk about witchcraft and Satan and all that stuff in the church. And I'm thinking, well, the only kind of information that I'm getting about witchcraft and the church is from the church. And shouldn't I wanted to read Anton LaVey's book, which would have been horse poo-poo anyway. I mean, all Anton LaVey wanted to do was be the nerd he was and get broads to come to his house and have orgies and that's what he was doing. Mm-hmm. But the Church of Satan is a whole different topic, and not really part of the craft. That's actually more part of Christianity. And then, so I wanted to pick up books, and we were doing Barnes and Noble and all those things, but he would never let me buy any kind of witchcraft books to read for myself. Yeah. So when he and I split up and I got with my next husband, the very first thing that he did was buy me Silver Raven Wolves to ride a silver broomstick, and handed that to me on an airplane. We're going on a trip to Key West. And I read that book on the airplane in 45 minutes and was like, this is all stuff I believe. And he said, I've listened to you for 2 years talk about this stuff, and I knew what you were talking about. So I thought you would like this book. And then I bought my first pentacle down on Duval Street. And that's how I ultimately ended up in witchcraft.
Well, we can talk another time perhaps about all the different intricacies of fear and control that revolve around
The ex-husband.
Yeah, well, that too, but witchcraft in general, and how, Christians,
God,
kind of use that fear
it's
as a
control.
lever.
Yeah, it's control.
But that might be a topic for another night,
Yeah.
because that's a heavy one.
It is a heavy one. And there's different ways to practice too. So when I first got into it too, I was not comfortable with replacing the Christian pantheon as my working deities.
Yes,
so I was a Christo pagan or Christo Wiccan.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do that as a first step because of that. Because when you're taught to fear something your entire life, it's hard for some people to give that fear up overnight.
Oh, for sure.
It can take steps.
I mean, you're told that if you blaspheme the name of Jesus or God, that your soul is now bound to burn in hell for all eternity.
Yeah.
And honestly, even before I became a practicing witch, when I didn't know, like, what did that even mean? There's no clear definition on what blaspheming the Holy Spirit was. So, like, you didn't even know if you were really doing it or not before you even found the new way of doing things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was always worried that I was going to end up in hell for what I was doing. I have zero guilt about what I believe now, because what witchcraft did for me was it opened me up to reading about all sorts of different religious beliefs that have been on this planet way longer than Christianity had been on there. And then there's just so many similarities to all of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you realize it's all based on one story anyway. The gods just have different names and faces to relate to the people that the region that they're in.
Well, one of the things that I run across frequently is that initial fear of twofold, really. What if that Christian fear, that Christian background fear of, I've been told that this is wrong, I've been told that this is wrong, and so they still fear that they might be doing something wrong. And then the other component of it is they really want to do witchcraft or paganism right. And they don't know what that really means.
Yeah.
So they're afraid to do anything because they're afraid that if they do something, it will be wrong. That it won't be, because there's no one
There's not a book
to go by that's definitive.
No.
So, it's a lot of different cultures, different backgrounds, all kinds of different people that have written about witchcraft and paganism and nature-based belief systems, and some of it goes back much farther than others, and some of it's brand new. And so you have this kind of melting pot of beliefs and systems, and so it's very confusing for somebody that's new to know, how do I figure this all out? How do I find what's right and what's wrong? And it's a very foreign concept, coming especially from a Christian background.
Yes.
To not have someone telling you what's right and what's wrong.
Yes.
And that also lends itself to some amount of abuse and egoism in paganism as well, because there's that void there.
Yeah.
Where you have a lot of people that want to step into a leadership role that might have never not really know how to do that, or want to do it for the wrong reasons. And then you got people that they don't know any better because they've been taught to follow their whole life.
Well, so that happened to me because when I got into it, again, the internet was brandy new.
Mm-hmm.
And there was really, I mean, you could find stuff about it online. That was great, right?
Yeah.
And there were stores around here that I could go to, but it was very secretive. And so when I went places and I asked for help and teaching somebody to tell me what I needed to do, I was told there were covens around me, all around me. I'm glad that I didn't go to them because where they were located was a little scary. And I'm glad that I was not welcome in those places. What ultimately ended up happening to me was I ended up having to drive to Clearwater for my year and a day. And then tired of driving because I had a small child at the time and having to get up and get him for school. And she was very strict, the high priestess was, for us to be there on full moons, new moons, and all the holidays, whatever day they really were on. So if it was a weekday, it didn't matter. You had to be there. And I was considered the handmaiden. So I had to be there like 2 hours before to help her clean and stay after to help her, clean up again, and then go back, drive an hour back into Pasco County, and then get up at like I'd be home at midnight, 1 o'clock, and get up at 5:36 to get Stephen ready for school. And it was just really hard. So after my year and a day, she said, you should start a group in Pasco County yourself. Mm-hmm. And I said, I am not ready for that. And she said, I think you should do it. But what she really wanted me to do was hive off of her.
Yeah.
And start. So there was that whole power dynamic thing. So that's how I ultimately started Pasco Pagans. And then that was really trial by fire because I had no idea what I was doing. And I was full of myself because I went into a store's Yahoo group that was closing. And I poached every single person in that group and said, I'm going to start this group and I need people to join. And they all came. And within a year, I had 300 people. And I thought I was the queen shit witch of Pasco County for a really long time. And I'm not going to tell you for sure. I know I never really was that. And y'all can argue with me up one side and down the other. But if it wasn't for me, none of y'all would have been able to find each other. I did that. I brought us all together. I gave you the opportunity to hate me and say terrible things about me. But the groups that we have in Pasco County right now are all spinoffs of Pasco Pagans, every one of them. And for that, I'm very proud because I connected people, not because I grew a ginormous group, but because I really did connect people and I brought us out of closets.
So, my history is starts somewhat similar to yours, but then diverges radically.
They've been doing it longer than me too.
Yeah. So I really resonate with when you were talking about how when you were a kid that, especially the women in your family would do witchcraft, but it was not called that,
no,
of course. It was hidden under a veil of Christianity and secrecy.
Yep.
So I had much the same experience when I was younger. My grandmother was Catholic, sort of.
Just like they were Orthodox, sort of.
I mean, she called herself Catholic, but she never went to church.
Only on the holidays.
Not even.
Oh shit! See, my parents, everybody went on the holidays.
No, my grandfather did, but not my grandmother. My grandmother had to raise 6 boys. She was not about to spend the day
in church.
Yeah, she went for weddings and funerals.
Yeah, well, we went for Easter and Christmas.
Yeah. So, but
and funerals.
What she did was, grow an herb garden and grapes and turn them into wine in her basement.
Yeah.
And tell me things like you have to stir the pot clockwise
Yeah.
because that's stirring love into the meal.
Yeah.
And you had to throw salt over your shoulder because it was bad luck if you spilled the salt.
Yep, I had that too. I was told that too.
And there was certain herbs and things that had to go in the floor wash to keep the house lucky and blessed. And I was 7 years old and she handed me my first tarot deck. So she was definitely, I mean, she wasn't born in the United States. She was born in Austria.
Yeah.
And so she kind of had this different view on things and she never really talked about Jesus, or there was no pictures of Jesus.
They were all over my house.
There was none of that. That was on my father's side. On my mother's side, that's a different story. They were Lutheran and raised my mother Lutheran.
Yeah.
But by the time my parents got together, my dad called himself a recovering Catholic because he went to Catholic school and the nuns just beat the ever loving shit out of him.
What's that? Because my dad went to Catholic school and they beat him too. I don't understand.
It was just the spare the rod, spoil the child thing.
Oh Lord.
And so by the time he graduated, he hated anything to do with Christianity and Catholicism.
Yeah, way to convert those souls, right?
Right. So by the time they had me, he was adamant that I would not be baptized. I would not be, brought into any church. I would not go to Sunday school. None of that was going to happen to me. And my mom more or less was overwhelmed with parenthood and being a young mother and trying to survive in Detroit in the 70s.
In the 70s.
And so, neither one of them was really keen on doing any of that anyway. So I consider myself very lucky that I am one of the few people that I know that when I did come to paganism in my late teens, early 20s, I didn't have any guilt to overcome.
Yeah.
I had no fear of heaven, of hell, or the devil, because that was just not a concept in my life that I was, that wasn't used to keep me in line. So
I lived a block away from the Greek Orthodox priest. I married his son in the backyard when I was. They did the crowns and the whole thing. I mean it. So
that's why I say when my childhood has some similar things with yours, but then it diverges in the teachings and being brought up with that fear and that
it took a long time to really. I mean, a long time, a lot of fights with my family, almost being completely excommunicated out of the family. Yeah. And then looking at my mom and going, you're such a hypocrite, because she came and stood in circle and you're the one that said, hey, let's play with this Ouija board. And you're the one that brought out the cards and showed me how to read them and get the yes, no answers and stuff. And I was lovelorn and sick and wanted to know if Bob Nisbet was ever going to ask me out again, and things like that. She taught me all that stuff, Yeah. And then my grandmother was like, I have this magic in me. And whenever people are mean to me, I just wish bad things on them and it just happens. And I have the gift and now I'm giving it to you and you're going to be able to do it too. Just stuff like that. Oh, dude, I made a girl wreck her car and everything. I freaked this boyfriend I had out so bad because he was cheating on me with this girl. And she drove a blue Camaro. And so every time I would see her at the gas station that he worked at, I would say, I wish she'd wreck her car. I don't want her to get hurt, but I want her to total that fucking car. And then every time I'd see a blue Camaro, I'd say, I wish she'd wreck her car. And one day I came down to see him and I'd say it in front of him all the time. And I came to the gas station. He goes, Wanda wrecked your car, man. It's totaled. What'd I say?
So that's another thing that we need to talk about at some other point too.
Ethics. So the story that my grandmother told me about that was So my grandmother worked at this store called Sticks Bear and Fuller in St. Louis, and it was her and like a whole bunch of old ladies that were like buddies, man. One of them worked. My grandmother worked in costume jewelry. Sticks Bear and Fuller is Dillard's. That's what it is. Okay. So she worked in costume jewelry. She had a friend named Theo that worked in the expensive Givenchy makeup thing, and then her friend Betty Cunin that sold the pantyhose. So that's these three old ladies, and they're all working in these different places. And my mom and I were always in that store and just visiting, whatever. My grandmother didn't drive, so we sometimes drove her to work and picked her up and whatever, because she would walk. There ain't nobody out there. So she would walk from where she lived and just drive down to or walk down to work. And sometimes we would just go if the weather was inclement or whatever. But my grandmother was stealing costume jewelry like there was no tomorrow.
Oh my God.
And and then the other lady, Theo and the Givenchy, was stealing makeup, and Betty was stealing pantyhose, and they were like all just like networking the stuff to each other.
Little band of thieves.
I would call my grandmother 88 Fingers Yaya. It's just like, and my mother would be, don't say that. I'm like, well, is it true or not? Like every piece of jewelry that's hanging on my neck is hotter than, it's just like, then you're getting older and you're starting to notice all this shit. Well, there was a store detective that was onto these three old ladies and just knowing, but he couldn't catch them because they were good, man. They were so good. So my grandmother would like wear the costume jewelry because, you have to show it to sell it. And she had nice hands. These are her hands right here. So they look pretty, right? When she put her stuff, and then just wear them home and never, ever bring them back. And then trade them for pantyhose or, eyeshadow, whatever the heck she was doing. And when the guy was really, I think Theo was the loose one in the group that was not as good as Betty or Sophie, my grandmother. And so she was the one that was like the one that was going to get them caught.
Betty, Sophie, and Theo.
And Theo.
Oh my God. It's like the Golden Girls.
I know! And my grandmother looked like the old one that was
Estelle Getty.
Yes. So Theo, I remember being in front of Theo's makeup counter with my mom and my yaya, and she was saying, he won't leave me alone, because my mom was out of her fucking Borghese makeup and she needed it. And, I gotta have my Borghese, get that fix. And then, so now what are we going to do about this guy? Because he's just up my butt and I'm going to get caught and I know I'm going to get fired. And my grandmother said, what would be the best thing that could happen? And she said that he would drop dead in front of my makeup counter.
Oh my God.
And he did.
Oh no.
Yeah. And then the heat was off and back to the stealing.
Wow.
I'm serious. And so it was right after that my grandmother said, see what we can do.
Oh dear. That's probably not a good thing to teach a young, impressionable person.
You got to be truthful with everything. I had to learn that was not a thing to do.
Yeah.
And that really didn't even affect me so much as Wanda's car. That I was like, ooh. Even though I looked tough in front of him, I was like, yeah, see? And then I was like, you got to be careful. You got to be really careful with that. But that was before I was even, a witch. I got one family to move off of a street because the kids were mean to Steven.
Yeah.
And they didn't even get a sign in their yard.
So I have a similar story that kind of correlates with that. I worked at a factory and my boss was this really cool lady. She was the quality control manager. And, we had a lot of conversations about belief, and she knew that I was, a practicing witch. And there was this one guy in the shop that was like parallel to her position, but in a different department.
Yeah.
And he made her life miserable. He just, every chance he got, he was taking digs at her and trying to get her in trouble, and was just a kind of a full of himself, arrogant, nasty human being.
Yeah.
And so she came to me and said, I can't take it anymore. I don't know if you can help me, but he has got to go. Something has to happen to him to get him off my back because I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
And I just can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, I'm not going to do it for you because that's not how I roll, but I'll show you what to do and I'll help you, plan a spell around this to get what you want. And so I kind of coached her that, you really want, if anything blows back from this, you want the blowback to be good things.
Yeah, pleasant
for you.
Yeah.
Because immediately, most people are like, well, let's stab him in the eye and,
yeah.
Have a machine blow up in his face or something, or have him wreck their car.
The belladonna's in my bag.
Yeah. So I kind of coached her into, okay, well, getting rid of him, that could be having a machine blow up in his face, but it could also have him, his dream job offered to him, and he just goes away because he's got this dream job.
Fat, dumb, and happy.
Yeah. So she was like, oh, okay, I like that. Let's do that.
Yep.
So we did this spell for him to just go off to his perfect dream job that he loved and he really wanted to do. Okay.
Yeah.
And he was in the reserves. Okay. I don't remember if it was Army Reserves or Navy or one of the service
Why
reserves.
do I want to suddenly sing Cheap Trick?
Yeah. Okay. So we did this spell on September 10th, 2003. So the next day, the planes hit the World Trade Center.
Wow.
And all the reserves were immediately called to active duty, and he immediately left.
That was his dream job?
Yeah, because that's all he wore his fatigues to work.
I have to scratch, and I don't want you to see me. Jeez Louise.
So my boss that I coached to do the spell was hysterical and came to me and was like, what the fuck did we do? And I'm like, no, Mary. I'm like, no. This is a coincidence because believe me, your first time out the rodeo shoot is not going to cause planes to fall out of the sky and smash into buildings.
No. Though I did make that girl wreck her car. But I guess that's different than planes hitting buildings.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I don't think so. But it was the way I look at it, that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
It just so happened that it was
serendipitous.
Yes. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. That
he got to go off and be a happy G.I. Joe somewhere.
Yeah.
And not bother her anymore.
I think for me, especially with, once I got past being all full of myself, kicked out of my own group and came back and took it over again a second time. The thing that I really like about what happened to me in witchcraft was it opened my mind to other people's ways of worship and their gods. So I'm not afraid of other religions, and nothing threatens me and my relationship with my gods. And I think that's the one really beautiful thing about it, because in Christianity, you are told that's it. This is the only way. And even in whatever flavor Christianity you're in, that's the one thing my parents would always say, the Orthodox, the Greek Orthodox religion is the one true and right religion. And then we moved into this German Catholic neighborhood, and I started going to the Catholic church. And I'm like, well, this is exactly like the Orthodox church. So there's no difference. I mean, except for it's a lot shorter, and I understand what the guy's saying at the top. And my mother said, "Okay, you can go there, but don't take the communion." And I thought, well, what's going to happen? Am I going to burst into flame or something if I do that? I was allowed to touch the holy water, but not the communion wafers. And I think I was like 15, and I was like, I'm going up there. What's going to happen? Let's see if she even notices. I mean, she noticed the cards when I did that. Maybe she'll be able to tell I ate the wafer. I don't know. And so I went and I did that, and she didn't know. And the Catholic priest didn't know I really wasn't Catholic. Nothing happened. So I was like, this is a bunch of garbage. You know what I mean? Like, no one knows. And so to me, I think there's a lot of fear and control based on all of that, this is the only way that you're going to get to heaven kind of bull crap. Where when you're in witchcraft or Wicca or paganism as a whole, which paganism is a broad term to cover non-Judeo-Christian religion. So anything that's not
an Abrahamic
religion.
Abrahamic. So if you're not some flavor of Christian, Muslim, or Jewish, you're a pagan.
Right. Those other religions that fall outside of that give you a little bit of freedom to test the waters of other philosophies and religions. And then that gives you a lot of freedom to realize that everybody's pretty much the same. Everybody has the same wants and needs as you. They want to be loved. They want to be accepted. They want to have a community. And then you go, oh, okay. They're not so scary after all. And I think that, I used to have this vision when I was when I first had started Pasco Pagans, especially during that first pagan pride that we did. And when the churches all came and they were like, can we put our tracts on your table and all that stuff? And I was like, put your tracts on the table. Can we invite people to the ice cream social we're having? And if they want to come, they could come. And yeah, you could set up a booth here, dude, if you wanted to do that. I don't care. And in my mind, I was hoping that one day we would all be sleeves rolled up at a soup kitchen, helping everybody and being supportive of each other's religions. Of course, that never happened. But that was the vision I had when they were all coming up to us and, can we put the tracts on the table?
Yeah.
Do you think they would have been very open to me coming to their church with our tracts? Because I had them. They were on the table. Do you think I could have gone to that ice cream social and said, can I pass these out? Do you think they would have been okay with that? I don't think so.
No.
But that was the one thing that when we were talking about putting that Pagan Pride Day together, that first one, I was very adamant that I don't care if they come, we are going to greet them with love. They are going to be accepted in this because that's what we're looking for. Yeah. So we have to have the same reception to them as long as they're being nice. If they start being mean to our people, well, then we're going to have to ask you to go. But if you're there and you're really just trying to understand what we're doing and what we're about, I'm all right with that, and the unknown is what makes people treat other people like crap.
Yeah. I want to add here, because it's a good segue, is at the same Pagan Pride Day, which we put together, she got to talk to the little old ladies that wanted to put tracts on the table and invite people to their ice cream social at the church. I got the people that were looking for the motorcycle club.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
I'm like, no, not that pagans. That's the wrong pagans.
And then just because Leon and I were into swinging, that somehow it came that's all I had started Pasco Pagans for, was to find people that I wanted to have sex with. And I was like, y'all are nice and everything, but there's nobody in this group that I'm attracted to. Thanks anyway, but no. And that was, that is so dumb to me too, because one of the very first pagan festivals I went to, they had polyamory classes. And so you're supposed to be all open to this, sharing your love, but yet I was a deviant, even among my own people. It's just, it's so dumb to me. All of it's so dumb. Being 61 is such a freeing thing because had I started it now, I wouldn't have cared that they thought that. I wouldn't have cared that Galen was telling all these people they were going to be gay guardians and splitting the group off and doing their thing. I wouldn't have cared when Dragon came and drug Gwen over to package up her jewelry in exchange for lessons. None of that. And I feel completely different now than I did back then. And in fact, I have just recently started posting in Pasco Pagans again. I hardly ever, it's just been running on like autopilot over there. I haven't done anything, but recently I've seen some stuff on YouTube of different witchcraft, and there's so many good channels out there, you guys, and it's hit or miss. And if you like them, just subscribe to those witches out there and you can learn a lot. I have found a bunch of there's one lady that does different yoga for different goddesses. So this week she was doing stuff for Nyx. There was a couple of days last week where she was doing stuff with Hecate. There's so many great creators. And so like I'm seeing all of this stuff and I'm throwing it out there and people are starting to talk again. And I don't know I think, well, that was part of my New Year's thing with all the change in my life was I said that I wanted to have a deeper relationship with my deities. And so even though I'm not really doing very well at it, this is for me how I'm manifesting that.
Right.
I set it as an intention and I'm doing it.
So because the suggestion or vote out there was, an introduction to witchcraft, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah.
I kind of want to address that, now that we've talked a little bit about our histories and past and whatever. And it's been quite a while since I took on any students myself. I kind of, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of emotional investment and time.
And it's responsibility.
Yeah. And I just haven't, I've just had a lot in my own life to deal with. So I haven't really felt the need to have any students of my own for quite a while. And there's other people out there that do that and they do it well. So,
Who does that? Who does it?
I'm not going to name names here.
Okay, because I don't know who that would be.
Yeah. So that said, if you are interested in witchcraft, paganism, and just want to know more about it, there's infinite online resources and books to go and read. And do your research on. And I am not going to even begin to tell you which ones might be, better than others, because, even a bad book, you can get something out of.
Absolutely, you can.
So my suggestion is just, read everything that you can.
Go to the library.
But keep a very open mind about the fact that what you are reading may or may not be something that resonates with you. It may or may not work for you. And it is okay to take a lesson out of a book and leave the rest behind.
Absolutely. It's okay to tweak that lesson you took out of the book too. And like I did, you can bring whatever religion you had with you into it.
Or leave it behind.
Yeah, that as well.
It's just, it's a very, paganism and witchcraft in general are very individualized things. And it really is, every person can do something a little different and still be under this umbrella term of paganism, because it's by dictionary definition, it's not what you are, it's what you aren't.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to read. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you find a teacher out there, do your research there too. Get references if at all possible. I know for a lot of people, they get enamored of somebody really quickly and want to jump in both feet and, believe that person is, the best thing since sliced bread. And that's okay, but just, be cautious and realize that, people are just people no matter what they're calling
Yep.
themselves. And so there is nothing wrong with asking somebody that you're looking at as a prospective teacher for references. And if they become offended by that, you should probably run the other way.
Also, you don't need to do anything you're not comfortable with. There's a lot of British traditional covens that have a lot of funny rules about how you can enter into their covens. Some involve being naked in front of everyone, and some involve sex. And if that's not your cup of tea, then don't do that. And I went into a British traditional coven where I had to go and be initiated naked into the rite. Now, these are people that I had known for a decade before I ever even did this, and I still wasn't completely comfortable. The person that walked me into the circle I was comfortable with, and that was the only reason why I did it. That was it, because I trusted her with, then she's still my coven sister, even though none of us are in that same coven anymore. And the other one that too, so there were the two girls, and both of those I still, when I have issues that it's something really bad is happening, I'm hitting them up still to this day. So, and the other thing I want to tell you is there's magic all around you. So I know I've showed you guys this book before. A lot of it is great. Some of it is really kind of sucky. But the thing I'm trying to tell you is that there's magic in a lot of things. Since we don't have one particular book, that you have to just be open to whatever it is. So trying to start your day off in a meditative state and with your tarot pull, and then being open to whatever messages you get from the divine in different places. The other day I was listening to the Beatles' Rubber Soul. Okay. I know I'm old, but there are places I remember. That song right now, because of everything that I'm going through, is on a loop in my head. I can't stop. It's, the people and things, I love them all. Some are gone, some forever. The whole thing fits my goosebumps just thinking about it, fits my life right where I'm at. So that was a divine message to me that day. And so I just decided, let me pull up this book and see what the heck she says for January 27th. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, a rock star in his own right back in the day.
Yeah.
Right. So I haven't read this part yet because I got this book at the end of last year. But today is Mozart's birthday. Oh, shit, man. Gwen said it was in December. She had the same birthday as Mozart. I'm going to have to tell this bitch she is wrong. Anyway, if you've seen the movie Amadeus, you've seen an approximation of his life. Reader, can you hum the first few bars of Mozart's Ein klein Nacht Musik? I have no idea if I said that right. Probably butchered it. In the movie, even the priest visiting Salieri in the madhouse immediately recognizes the tune. As we know, Mozart, 1756 to 1791, was a musical prodigy. So was Elton John. He was writing symphonies before he could write sentences. In the movie, he's shown composing on the billiard table, absently rolling the balls around as he commits to paper music he's already heard and perfected in his head. He may have been improvident and foolish, but he was nevertheless a true genius. If you made me go to an opera, I'd pick The Magic Flute, which is about, among other things, ceremonial magic. Did you know that?
What, The Magic Flute?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what H.R. Puffin stuff was about? I mean, loosely?
Could be.
Damn, we need to watch some of those. The word genius comes from the Latin and means strongly marked capacity or aptitude. Anyone who can pass Mensa's test, okay, see, she's losing me right here with this. Anyone who can pass Mensa's test can be called a genius, but there is obviously more to being smart than just intellectual power and the ability to reason. We know artistic geniuses who cannot make change and people who comprehend the equations of quantum physics, but are inarticulate in ordinary conversation. See my cousin Rusty for reference. We're said to have 4 bodies: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Surely there are elements of physical, emotional, and spiritual genius. Think of great athletes, astonishing actors, shining stars of holiness. Do we all have a spark of genius in us? Reader, what is your spark of genius? So there are things like that. It's everywhere. It's in that Rubber Soul album. It's in Libby knowing that I was so sick last week that I needed to be taken care of. When you are let out of the confines of something restrictive, no offense if you find comfort and wonder and love and joy in Christianity. But for me, I felt like I was being stifled in that religion. I was told that I had no voice as being a woman, that that I was not submitting to authority properly in my church. And I gave myself to that church when they needed people to cook, clean, bottle wash for funerals, mission work in Orlando because that's where it was. I was there. And then when I needed them, they told me that I was a disobedient sinner. So before I ever even knew that I was going to walk into witchcraft, I knew I was done with that religion.
Yeah.
And then everybody says, but see, they were just people. And you shouldn't have held them to such a high standard. Did I? Did I? Oh, it's Kristen. What the heck is happening?
Not much. I had my brother talking, and he was, explaining about the Kia thing. And they found his car, and
Yeah, I was telling Valora about that.
yeah, you need to let everybody that like they eat progressive insurance. You know how great they're supposed to be. The lady on the phone was a real bitch, and my nephew was trying to tell you know Kurt that to kind of expect that. And but when he got on the phone and she talked, and it sounded like everything he has to do, everything, like take the pictures, whatever, send them to her. They may or may not do a thing, apparently, unless the airbags employed, yada yada yada, it's nothing. So forget about it being totaled, you're not going to get it fixed. And he was like, well, what about recommended places to at least get the minor things repaired? And she's like, oh, well, we don't do that. So all the stuff that you were raised to think was their job, it's not.
Not anymore.
And so anyway, just long story short, Kevin's gonna work on it for him, which he's a really good schmoozer, but I don't think it'll change anything.
Yeah.
So it's still in the police, lot. So for the thing, and Kurt's like, he said, I'll never like testify in court again. After his Jeep got stolen twice.
Yeah, no kidding.
And because he said they literally put you on the stand, and then ask, make you say your name and where you live. And he's like, oh, great. So the guy stole my car in the city of St. Louis. Now he knows where in the fuck I live.
That sucks. So
I know, he said, I'll never do that again. And he goes, even if I went to court, I'd tell him, or I said, you should just say, I want to invoke the fifth on the grounds that the guy may come to my house. But this time, the guy stole in front of his house, so, or whoever it was, kids, who knows yet? He doesn't know anything about it, so.
So you popped in right in our middle of our conversation of Witchcraft 101. Do you have any questions?
What's that?
We were just talking about witchcraft and how we got here, and we were doing it mostly so people that they had questions, and you're the only person that came in. So do you have a question about witchcraft?
Oh, I had many, but at this point, probably you guys just go with the flow. Go back to where you were.
Well, I don't. What was it? What were you talking about?
we were.
the confines of
Yeah.
Christianity and how it was. So, okay. So the thing was, if you find comfort in that, that's good for you. But for me, I had to get out because I just was not, and that was well before I got here. And I was still in my first marriage when I walked out of the church and said, that's all for me. I pushed myself away from the table. No more meatloaf for me, Mom. I've had enough. But and the other thing was we just talked about how we got here and how folk magic has been around both of us our whole lives. You know,
Yeah.
come from people that came from different countries, and they didn't necessarily identify as witches, but they did a lot of witchy stuff. And as we both grew in our practice, we recognized that that our families were practicing that, even though they cloaked it in just to like, I don't even know, like I don't even think they really considered it like magic or anything.
No, they
like
called
that.
it old wives' tales.
Old wives' tales.
Right.
Or stuff like
Yeah,
that.
folk
like,
healing.
Yeah,
And-
like superstition.
Yeah.
But they never called it witchcraft
No.
or sympathetic magic, which is actually what it was
Yeah,
that they
exactly.
were doing.
So
That makes sense.
the but there, and it was even happening in the inside of the church.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the church did appropriate a lot of pagan.
So
practice.
that's the other thing I wanted to say about that too. Okay, so now, fast forward years later, I'm out of the Assembly of God. I've been practicing this religion and witchcraft for a while. I didn't want to be called a Wiccan, or I didn't want to not be called a Wiccan because that's what I thought I was, but really I wasn't. And I got mad at you for saying I was a witch and not Wiccan, but I really am just a witch. And I went to a wedding back at the Greek Orthodox Church in Clearwater years after I had started practicing. And my mom and me and my dad are sitting like 3 rows in from my cousin as she's getting married. And I'm looking at the wedding, and I looked at my mom and I said, they just cast a circle, Mom. This is just a witchcraft circle. And the deities they're calling in is the Christian pantheon. That's it. And she was like, we are in the church. I'm like, okay, but kind of what we do in the backyard.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Frankincense and myrrh. I burn that too.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't get rid of the winter solstice holiday.
No, that just
You know,
change the date up and call it something else.
The pagan people were too enamored of it's winter. The harvest is done. People want to relax and have a good time and just be with
Eat,
family and friends and enjoy their lives. And they weren't about to give up that holiday for some sky god they never heard of before. No. And a stone church that nobody wanted to go and kneel in.
Yeah, because they wanted to have their bonfire and they're drumming and they're dancing around that fire. And
so the only way they could get around not persecuting everybody, basically,
somebody's got to work the fields, guys.
Yeah. We can't kill off everybody.
No, we can't do that.
We're going to have to just take this and say, okay, now it's our God's birthday. Yeah.
Well, I have something to include on that
are somehow related to him.
Yeah.
We'll just connect all those dots and call it Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, my adoptive family is German, and we, I've told Michelle a million times that our church does recognize where we came from. It's a very, over the years, has become much more relaxed. And besides the fact that even in the 70s, in the 60s and 70s, we were having...
Oh!
We lost you.
No connect. That was really getting good.
Yeah.
Okay, when she comes back, we can finish that. Okay. Oh, are you calm now?
Yeah.
Man, my boobs itch so bad. I'm sorry. This is where the hives are right now.
Okay, so
iPad, whatever it is.
But you were really getting to an interesting part. We were really invested.
Oh yeah, totally. Just the
Well,
same
we
thing
were.
I've said so many times to you. I don't know about Ballora, um, but just that we had like Seder suppers where you're like recognizing like the Jewish stuff, and
That's cool.
and then the learning uh what is it, like having the Yule suppers, and doing we were making Yule logs and stuff, and
That's cool.
um then having the punch, or whatever the drink is, the
Oh,
mead.
the sale.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, not the mead, but the
We
other
do
stuff.
that at West Pasco Historical Society every year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it was like that was a big part of my confirmation, is learning the entire history of where we come from and why we broke away from like Lutherans, and then the evangelicals, we broke away from them.
Yeah.
And then it was evangelical reformed, and then we broke away from them because they were like, I guess, still too stodgy. I don't know. And so, we are what we are now. But to me, it was never taught that that's wrong. It's just that we started changing, or
See, that's
whatever.
cool to like an evolutionary process of your spirituality, which is really what it should be.
So what is the denomination that you're
United Church of Christ.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's, I mean, their symbol now is, I hate to say it, it's the rainbow. They have on the Grace Church, by us. It has the rainbow on it and says all are welcome. And we've had our, enough ministers, preachers, whatever, pastors. I say preacher because I like the sound of it better, but we've had our guy that was gay, and then our other lady that I guess she thought she was gay. Then she realized she wanted to be trans, so she got her operation, and then now I'm not sure if she wants to go back or not. I don't know if he wants to go back. Huh?
That's a lot of money to spend to like change things around that many times.
Yeah. And my mom gave her my piano. So I was like, Piwa, I love you, but figure out whatever, because you got the family piano, and we were all fighting over that. So anyway, she was from South Africa. He whatever. I don't know status.
They is easier. They done.
Yeah. But now we have our first black pastor completely. Like, we just voted him in because Piwa was like black skinned, but South African, and so now they just, like, all these white people, they were the only ones present the day of the voting. Not we do have a mixed congregation, but with COVID everything's changed, and he got 100% of everybody there, and he cried. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, go back to the pagan stuff, which stuff.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that, though, Kristen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
Well, I've told Michelle like 800,000 million times, and Teresa, every time she dogs on Christians, I'm like, you better be talking about those evangelical motherfuckers, because I'm getting pissed hearing about it.
I'm always very careful when I say anything at all negative or critical, that I am very careful to direct that towards the certain leadership roles,
Right.
and not the people.
I know what you mean.
Right.
I do know exactly what you mean.
And there are, you included, a lot of very lovely Christian people
Absolutely.
that
Right.
identify themselves as Christian, but to me, a lot of how they are in real life doesn't align so well with a lot of the dogma that has kind of plagued Christianity in general. But it sounds like that you have a very progressive minded.
Yeah.
Um,
It is, and the
And
other thing, like to
I'm
me,
glad that you have that.
this this is probably just me. I know it's not my church, but I have a real hard time with scripture, um, like with the Bible. I realize and I recognize where the Old Testament came from. I don't identify with it a whole lot because I feel like the reason like Jesus ever came around in the first place was God didn't know what in the hell to do anymore. You know, he was like, yeah, let's send somebody in man's image, you know, the real image, and let him go through. Well, and even as much as I read, I don't think Jesus was perfect. Um, and
So
yet he
even if he was part man and part God, if he had the humanity,
ish,
there's no way.
yeah,
So
ish. I mean, he's apparently, you know, he heard from his daddy sometimes, you know, but he was supposed to be human, and he died as a human, you know, as the story goes. And but my whole thing is, uh, you know, reading the text and everything. It depends on who was writing it. They didn't write it in the point of a female. Even the female
no.
chapters in the Bible were written by men.
And then
And
there are
so
no words for it that translate in every single language
and they don't.
of it. You know, like it was in Aramaic first,
Right.
in the Old Greek, which
Right.
grandfather didn't even understand the Old Greek. So
Right.
there are not words to even describe. And then one that I always go back to is the whole virgin thing. Virgin just meant somebody that never had a child. It didn't mean somebody
Right.
that didn't have a fucking sex life.
And
Yes.
even Victorian people knew that. That's why they got married in black or something like that or whatever. I just got that mixed up, I think. But they also in the beginning they would get married with black, not white dresses. Then that changed to the reason black became fashionable is because it was rich. You know, it was like costly to have a black gown, and it also was like a status thing to say you had money, you were married, and you were no longer a virgin. Obviously, you were, you know, I mixed that all up, but I'm drinking, so hey.
Girl. So there's a guy that lives down the street from Bob who really was he was a missionary and went to Russia and did all this missionary work and like seriously Christian, and but he's a good guy, and he helps Barb a lot, you know, takes her doctor's appointments and stuff because she can't drive, and if I'm not there he picks up the slack. And when we lost power and we went, she stayed with us for the hurricane, and when we left they still had power and they were feeding her and bringing her down there to, you know, cool off and all that stuff. But he was really pissy with me because when I drink I curse a lot, and he really gets offended by my cursing and would not come around when I was there. And I stopped talking to him because he was just being such a putz. Like came when the guy Tom was still alive, him and I would be under the porch and we'd be drinking and we were listening to the same music. You know, we were the same age. So we're listening to all this music. We'd be like jamming out. It's loud and we're drinking and we're having a good time. And he'd come in and turn the radio down. Just
No.
Street and come under the carport while we were partying and turn down the radio. And I was like, is this your fucking radio, dude? Yeah. No, it's not, bitch. And I go back and turn it up. And so him and I had this really volatile relationship to where we were just like butting heads, just terrible, not talking to each other. And it was
control really, issues.
Yeah. So here's the thing though. Just before the hurricane, he came up into the carport and he said, I want to say something to you. He said, I'm a jerk. And I feel like God really wants me to tell you that I shouldn't treat you the way that I do. And I'm really sorry that I did what I did to you.
He was judging.
It's what he said. And he goes, and I'm no better than anybody else. And I didn't have the right to do that to you. And he goes, I need to ask you to forgive me. Can you forgive me? And I said, yeah. You
Of
know,
course.
do that. And I said, and I know that you don't like it when I drop the F bomb. So I'm going to make an effort
To
to
not do so.
not do that. So I did. And then we're all sitting under the carport the other day, and Rich is there. And this bitch is dropping the F word and he's laughing at everything Rich is saying. And now I'm pissed because I'm working hard to not cuss in front of him. Yet Rich is under the carport.
You broke him in.
No, I don't think so, Kristen. I
You think
think
it's the woman
if I
thing?
had a penis, the cussing would be
Well,
okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
the woman thing.
I haven't said anything. Therapy's helped me. I really but I caught it, and I was like, you know what? That's some shitty double standard bullshit right there.
Yeah, it is.
But I am kind of loving that his wife, who he married when he met her in Russia, and she's like younger than me, and he's a little bit older than me. And
Oh,
cradle robbing dude, ain't you? Like, you got this girl. Well, anyway, she's bringing it. Her friend came from Russia. She's just getting here like today. She said, I need your credit card to him. She's taking her to Safety Harbor Spa. They're going to Key West and they're going to all these dinners, and she made him pay for the whole goddamn thing. And
that's what happens.
delicious.
Yeah. If you guys, do you ever watch that like 90 Day Fiance show and all those?
You mean that guy with no neck, Ed? Big Ed?
So what?
Big Ed, the guy with no neck?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about him. I don't watch it on my own, but Natalie got
I
me.
get it, but Big Ed is like legendary.
Yeah, well, she got me hooked on it, and anybody from Ukraine or Russia, those girls want to be pampered. You know, they expect
Cool
it.
teacher.
It's like,
He teaches at Manatee High.
whatever.
I think I'm supposed to give you a reading. Are you ready for a card reading?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. I'll
I was
just do
gonna say, stop drinking 2 hours ago.
I'm just going to pull one card for you, and it's an oracle card.
All right, bless you.
So it just kind of gives like a general idea over the next couple weeks what your focus might be.
We'll have to see if it coincides with my horoscope, which was very right on today.
So here, hold the card up to the camera so she can see it.
See.
This card,
Wait a minute, my
Let's
cat's on my lap. Hold on, I'm trying to get closer.
Okay,
it's happiness.
I see pretty colors.
It's happiness.
So the card that I drew
I'm gonna
for
go make a
you
drink.
is happiness, and this is what the cards.
Okay.
This is what the guidance for that card is. In the quest for happiness, you need to decipher what it is that truly gives you a cheery disposition. This may be through a loving relationship, securing a top job, gaining popularity, acquiring new clothes, purchasing a shiny car, being surrounded by pets, or going on a holiday. Yet the key to happiness is to see joy and perfection in absolutely everything, which in turn gives you a buzz of magic from deep within. The feeling of elation is what you wish to experience. So focus on the positive and be the one to turn frowns upside down. Get everyone smiling. When you choose
That's me.
when you choose happiness, your mood is elevated and you tap into a limitless supply of joy. Happy days.
I like that.
That's a really awesome card.
I know. I have never ever like seen or heard one like that, and it goes along with my horoscope, so it must be so. And
It
'cause
matched
I'm-
your horoscope today?
yeah, I have my daughter like put me on. I can't remember the name of the site now, but she likes it, and it you know, I have all my, you know, my signs and stuff and when I was born. So it seems to be pretty accurate. But it was basically kind of saying the same thing, similar, things, and and I'm supposed to invest more, in what makes me happy, and that for me that's always my, like relationships, anything, people, and pets, animals, and not I don't care about the stuff, you know, things. Huh?
Oh, my cat.
But anyway, so the card was right on, Michelle.
What is
Michelle.
Yeah, with her horoscope.
Look at the coaster Michelle has for me.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
It's Prince.
I know it is.
Oh,
Being sarcastic. You can't tell what I'm drinking, huh?
my boyfriend's like, you're putting your glass on Prince's face. I'm like, yeah, I
Why
kind of.
not?
I'd like to put other things on his face, but
I knew you were going there. Before you said it.
oh, my hives are so bad.
Oh, I never got to see you all lumpy and bumpy.
I'll send you pictures. Oh.
Oh, look at you. So were they worse? Like lower?
Michelle, what were my hives like?
Oh, it was so bad. I felt so bad for her. They were just everywhere, and she was basically very few places on her were not red and splotchy.
Even in your scalp?
It went to just under my jawline.
Bad.
I don't think I had.
Yeah.
Did I have some on my face?
Maybe a few, like in your cheeks, like in the apples of your cheeks,
Yeah.
a little bit. But yeah, they were just everywhere.
Here he goes again. Listen, enough with you.
Cisco's in trouble
Yeah, he keeps trying to knock her laptop on the floor.
because he knows it's taking her attention away.
I guess.
What happened was she came home from work. What day was it? Tuesday? Yeah, it was the day I went to the doctor to say that I had no reaction to the medication.
Right, and then the next day.
That afternoon, that evening,
Yeah.
it happened. So I took a nap, and I wasn't feeling well that day. I had that was the start of it, but it wasn't as bad till the next day.
Right.
So Tuesday, I told her, I think I'm coming down with something. Something's wrong.
I remember you saying you thought you had a virus and all that.
My eyes hurt.
Yeah.
And when she came home from work, I'm like, my palms are itchy. I don't know why.
Ooh.
And then the next morning I had a fever of 99.5, 99.7 off and on all day. And I just felt like crap. And then by the time she got home from work, the rash went up my palms and down, and then when I woke up the next morning, it was
so bad
everywhere, just everywhere. And so I finally I laid down, and and she had Benadryl, and I started taking the Benadryl, and I laid down and I started wheezing. And so I called the doctor and I said, here's what's happening. And then she called the prednisone in, and we went and we picked it up. And my son Steven came over and brought me calamine lotion. He didn't even know what that was. He's like, calamine? What's calamine? It's fucking stuff to put on
the pink stuff.
Yeah, but he found the clear stuff. He goes, I got this is clear. Is it okay? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's better.
And so then we went and picked up the prescription, and I was like, I can't take any of this till tomorrow morning. I'm gonna die. And then she's like, no, we can do it all tonight. And so we took half of it at 10 and the other half at 11. And it was enough that I slept for like 2 hours. And then last night I slept for another 2 hours and then went back to sleep at 4:30. I think tonight I might actually get some sleep.
Thank God.
Oh my
she
God.
was just miserable.
I wanted to die. I'm not even kidding. And I'm afraid
to know that feeling.
I just want to be dead because it was waves. Okay. So sometimes it'd be my legs and then they'd stop. And the minute that they'd stop, then my arms would stop. And then that would stop. And then my chest and back would start. And then it'd go back down to the legs. And I'm like, mother effer, are you kidding me? This is just horrible. And
Yeah.
and so I guess I'm still allergic to sulfa. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't do that anymore. I won't even let
So
them have
she
me
was
attempt
so
stuff.
itchy. She had a fork.
Yeah, because the back scratcher was not cutting it.
And she was using the tines of the fork to like itch
Ooh,
legs and her arms. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. But
girl, you're gonna spear yourself.
I
Yeah.
didn't care. I wanted to friggin' draw blood. It was so bad.
so now we have a joke.
Grandma scratching fork.
Don't touch Nana's fork.
Don't
That's
touch
her
the
scratching
scratching fork. That's the scratching fork.
That's what you had was Nana's fork.
No, Nana's fork.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Fork.
Don't touch that fork. That's Nana's scratching fork.
Aw.
Dude, nothing touched it. The Benadryl didn't help. All that did was just make me like really
Sleepy.
tired and itchy.
Yeah.
God, it was awful. It was awful.
Yeah.
But
Last-
those first three pills of prednisone, I knew I was going to be okay. I could just tell that like right away within an hour,
Yeah.
I started to calm down and it wasn't as aggressive.
She told me that she called her doctor and her doctor called in the prednisone and I was like, oh, I am jealous.
Oh my! This is the best drug I ever took in my entire life.
Because you feel so good when you take
Dude,
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
keep up with her in the grocery store. I can't keep up with my hip is so bad. You know,
Yeah.
the right hip is bad, the left knee is bad. So I'm
I
all
know.
trailing around behind everybody. I was keeping up. I had to go grab another package for her from the meat case. I was there and back. I'm like, God, where did that go?
Yeah.
You know, nothing hurts. I'm popping up out of the chair to be able to go. And now that's got me on a journey of looking for anti-inflammatory foods.
Well, talk to Cherie Wynn.
Yes, okay, no. I love her. Mm-mm.
But she knows.
No, she knows what works for her.
What?
She knows what works for her. Everything she eats would make me 8,000 pounds. There's no way.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I have to just incorporate more cruciferous vegetables into my diet, which I do not do. So like more cauliflower, more
broccoli,
kale,
cabbage, and Brussels sprouts.
Mm-hmm. A lot of that, spinach, all of that stuff needs to be. And I'm going to start throwing some small amounts of beans, you know, a couple of times a week into something.
What kind of beans?
Whatever. Not probably not like pork and beans, but like black beans or.
Yeah.
You know what we could make
What?
too that I forgot all about? And the cabbage just made me think of it because we could do shredded cabbage.
I love shredded cabbage.
We could make that egg roll in a bowl.
Ooh.
Ah, yes, we could.
That's good.
You could also make cabbage rolls.
No, we can't.
Why?
I won't eat that. That's squishy.
Michelle has
Your texture thing.
I think I'm also gonna and y'all hear
It's squishy though.
Oh, when you've cooked that cabbage, it will be squishy as F.
Well, I guess I'm thinking of squishy as more like mushy, but
Isn't it the same thing?
apparently in our vocabularies, it's
Disgusting.
different.
I'm not doing that.
Well, to me, if you don't think of the cabbage, you know, as being cabbage, it's, you know, never mind. Just wouldn't work.
No, if it's crunchy, it's one thing. So like cabbage in Chinese food is fine.
Yeah.
Because
Bok
they
choy?
Yeah, oh, I love bok choy.
Me too.
But I'm not eating anything rolled up. My mother would make stuffed cabbage, and I would just open up the fucking cabbage and take all the inside out and eat that. And then start stuffing potatoes for me because I wouldn't eat that. Same with the green pepper. It's a waste of a pepper. I'm not eating that either. I don't like any kind of green pepper. Stuff with jalapeno, I'll eat that.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. But it's spicy, you know? So it kind of cancels squishy flavor right away. It's like burning
jalapeno is like the one thing I don't care for that kind of hot, you know, and the hotter.
That's not even hot. I mean, it's hot, but
excuse me. To me, it is hot.
Time of the year, you got to eat habaneros to make.
But I like Chinese hot. because now you're making me itch. I'm such a hypochondriac. It's like I have eczema all the time, all over. So it's like if it's not in my
Oh, she's gone again. So just so you guys know, I'm considering starting an OnlyFans for my feet.
Oh, don't give them a free shot.
They didn't get to see anything. Because somebody told me I had pretty feet.
We should start.
penance. He took me off because they said, "God damn it."
Yeah, that's what it was. He's busy with
We
that.
need to start an only pause for Holly.
Only pause, and then we can have my only fans feet with the only pause. Yep, I'm gonna sell my feet on the internet, dude,
Why?
so I can make some money.
Well, yeah, you were posting about that.
Yeah, well, I've had people hit me up on the side saying how pretty my feet are, and I should really do it for real.
Yeah, I saw like one or two people, at least on
I think I'm gonna do that.
public, on the public.
Stick
said
my
that.
feet in chocolate pudding. That's the only thing pudding's good for.
Ugh.
To put my feet in.
My
Yeah.
sister had a
30
foot
minutes, and
fetish
then
thing.
we're getting cut off.
What?
There's 30 minutes left, and then we have to go.
Okay.
I only get the free stuff because I'm a cheap ass bitch.
Yeah, I didn't know like what, even how you get it.
It's called EV Mux, and it's
Right.
a program, and you download it, and they have StreamYard too, and that one, but you don't get as many people on the dynamic. Like this, when you're up with me, you're on the dynamic, but it don't really matter. I could have been on StreamYard because no one ever really comes out here for me. Although I might, like I said earlier in the broadcast when you were not here, I've been shouted out by a couple of bigger content creators in the last couple of days on YouTube. So
Good.
I went from like 71 people today to 80. I almost fell out when I went out to my page, the studio, and looked at it. I'm like, that's all because of Erin. She shouted out, she reposted something that I posted about
That's how it
nonsense on the web. Bitch.
That's how it starts, right?
Yeah, it was, well, and it's because I'm on the same page as these ladies,
Right.
with that are saying some stuff. It was a lot of drama today on the YouTubes, and it's fun, and I love it. I get my fix of being a jerk because Erin has taught me how not to care. Like, have your opinion and not care. None of us want anybody shut down. I want to make that caveat in case Becky decides to listen. Kristen dropped off again. There she is.
It's just
I don't know.
starting.
Well, I don't know if it's your alcohol or what the deal is, but
It is not my alcohol.
so I just want to talk a little bit about this drama on YouTube before, because we only got 30 minutes, and I'm just
There you go.
So there's all this drama, and there's all these people that are trying to get content creators canceled. And I just want, if you're watching Becky with the good hair, I don't want you to be taken off of YouTube. I think you should be able to say whatever you want to say. But when we critique what you say, don't get all snippy about that stuff, because aren't we doing exactly the same thing you're doing? Just saying. So we don't all have to agree with each other, but we all have a right to say what we have to say. The only critique I have about the stuff that I hear Becky with the good hair say is she makes fun of Molly Golightly's body. And that's effed up, because Molly's got a lot of stuff you can go after. Molly's kind of racist. Molly's kind of privileged. Molly says a lot of dumb things. So you do not have to call her Moose Knuckle. That's really bad.
Moose Knuckle?
Yeah, instead of like Camel Toe, because she's a bigger lady.
Oh, geez.
I don't like that. Molly goes after women's looks too. Molly says really bad things about older ladies, and just age shames people. And we all got things about ourselves that
we do.
So if you want to talk about my character and that you don't like that I worship different gods, then you go ahead and say all that stuff, because those are true things about who I am. but do not talk about how I look. Do not body shame me. Do not make me feel more uncomfortable about my own skin than I'm already in, because we have enough of that. We got enough people that want to do those things to us. And just because we don't agree with each other doesn't mean we have to treat each other like dog crap. And that's really kind of icky to me, that that's what I'm seeing is people that don't want to have any kind of dialogue unless you agree completely with each other. Because these two ladies that shouted me out, actually three, there's Flava, Veda Snow, and Erin Costello with EKC People Suck. We all don't agree with each other on everything. And we all will tell each other when we don't agree. But that does not diminish the care and concern we have for each other. And we will never say mean things about how anybody looks or how they love or anything like that. And there's just too much of that going around. And it's just really easy for people to say and do really terrible, hurtful things to each other now. I don't know why all of a sudden we think that we can just be really mean to each other over things people can't change. So that little dynamic needs to stop, and you need to not be so sensitive about your opinion that you can't have someone challenge it, your opinion. I had a really good exchange with a lady today about another content creator, and she was really trying to push me to agree with her, and I finally just said, no, I don't. And she then tried to push an opinion that she thought I had about other creators. And I stopped her there too and said, what makes you think I believe the way you're saying I believe? So just because I am not on the same side as, or don't appear to be on the same side as you are, doesn't mean that I am supportive of the other side either. So,
exactly.
Just be a little more thoughtful when you talk to people. It's scary to me to watch these ladies all infiltrate all these other groups and then see the division and chaos they're sowing to push their agenda instead of just trying.
Sounds familiar, instead of trying to, the original intent of getting out there.
Yeah. All YouTube is Facebook with a voice. They can actually see you and hear you talk as opposed to something that you write out. And so Erin has taught me that it doesn't matter if anyone likes my opinion or not, and they don't have to. This is my channel, and I'm allowed to have the opinion I have. But I also don't need to be an asshole to anybody who doesn't agree with me. And so, and it's okay if they don't like me. I don't want anybody shut down unless they're doing things that really are going to bring harm to another human. If they're asking people to do terrible things to children or against other people's will, then I got a problem. But other than that, if you don't
or if they're including you into a group,
well, they can include me into any group they want to. I'll just disagree with that. But as long as no one's getting hurt in any way, I don't want.
Yes, but I mean, to me, I still think it's the same thing. Not the same thing, but to a lesser degree.
You got to have a thick skin to come out here and do this.
Right. Well, yeah, but again, it's just the judging thing. I just don't think anybody has the place to judge.
We all do it. It's just the way you do it. You know what I mean? Like, there's things I'll say to Ballora that I won't say on YouTube, which is leaps and bounds bigger than what I used to be. So, I mean, I get
you. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm just
it's a different forum.
It is a different forum. I mean, I've gone out and tried to tell Becky with the good hair how I feel in her group. And I was pretty much run right out of there with pitchforks and torches.
Damn.
So, yeah, because
what kind of good hair? What does good hair mean?
That's what she called herself, Becky with the good hair. She's got really long blonde flaxen.
Do you know what that's from?
No, what is that?
It's a Beyonce song.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
So white lady's like Becky with the good hair? Is that because she's singing about a white lady with blonde hair?
It's because she's singing about a woman that was sleeping with her husband. Becky with the good hair.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
So she calls herself Contessa, Cuntessa, and then Becky with the good hair. So why would you even do that to yourself? Sister.
Yeah.
Sister.
So it's a black woman with the good hair.
She's a white lady from Utah.
Okay. Because I don't get that. But I get it. I don't get it.
All up in that hip hop stuff. I'm only just learning about it.
I mean, growing up where we did, though, I know, what people used to consider the good hair and the bad hair. And I wanted a fro.
I
You
had
know?
it,
I wanted Michelle hair.
and I was trying to straighten it.
I know.
Laura was ironing it on the ironing board.
I know. My sister ironed her waves and curl out.
It's really bad. And then I even slept one time with orange juice cans rolled up in my
Oh,
head.
Karen always did that with the big Welch's grape juice cans.
Yeah, it's exactly yeah, for real.
And my sister's got, she's dark skinned and you know, has the like wave and curl if her hair short.
Working out there. We got two
So
people working out there.
Are there really?
Yeah, just
Yay.
lurking. And you came at the very end when I went for the part I didn't pay for, and then we're gonna get shut down.
That's not fair.
In like 20 minutes. It's all good. Is it you, Becky, with the good hair? Dude, come up with a different name. I had no idea that's what that was. Isn't it funny? It's really funny to me. It just reminds me of going to Skinny's with all the Proud Boys playing all the hip hop music.
No.
I'm just like, whatever. So now next week when I come back to all of this stuff and I'm gonna pick some videos apart. Veda is helping me to learn how to edit my videos so that I can actually throw videos together and not have to do lives all the time. Because Lord knows your girl needs to be able to cut some stuff out of her stuff, especially when things happen and I have to get up and answer the door and I'm still live. I hate that. So I really want to be able to just do video and then edit it. And I feel like I'm so old because I just can't pick that stuff up. I told Belora, I said, back in the day, I was the kid that picked it all up. I was hanging around with a bunch of friends in the 70s with Laura and her boyfriend Dean. And I was able to go to all these high school parties when I was still in 8th grade. And because Laura was my friend, she was in 10th grade by the time I was in 8th grade. And because she was my friend and my parents really loved her, I was allowed to go to all these parties with them that I had no business going to at that age, And one night we went to this, it was a Halloween party and the theme was the Vietnam. And so we all had to go in military gear to this party and our hippie gear, either way. So I was, hip hugger stuff, halter, the same thing you wore in the 70s anyway. And going to this house party and somebody had a Sega Genesis or some video game system, and they were playing tanks on the TV. And I was like, what is this? I'd never seen anything like that. And they sat me down. They were like, all right, little girl, play this game. And they gave me the controllers to play tanks. And I killed everybody in the house because I was the youngest person in there. Just like any other video game, you give a little kid the controller and the little kid's got your ass, right? I was so good. This guy went into his bedroom and brought out a Nazi war helmet with the spike on the top and put it on my head because I was,
oh my God,
annihilating the entire party.
Funny.
Not now. I can't edit a video to save my life because I'm 61. But if I was 12, I could probably hack into, I don't know, AT&T and get everybody's information if I wanted to.
But that depends on when we were brought up. I mean, if you were 12, never mind. Not going there.
Yeah. It was a different world when we were 12, Kristen.
It's a different world. That used to be one of my favorite shows. But yeah, it was. But I do know what you mean about you felt like way ahead. You were just that much more savvy on things. Because Karen, my sister, would take me to parties with people that were 3, 4, 5 years older than
Yeah.
me. And you know, I was probably smarter than they were.
Oh, I think I was way smarter than most of those guys.
Right, right. I was trying to be humble, but
There was this one party. What was that guy's name? Joe something. I don't know. It was a Normandy party. And
Spino? No,
he had
Spina.
really long black hair.
Ooh, I would have liked him probably.
Yeah. If I had my yearbook, I could find him. Like,
Yeah.
wow. But he we were in this house and he was taking doorknobs off doors.
What?
And I remember looking at Laura and going, yo, we got to go. I don't know what this guy is doing.
Were they the pretty like crystal ones?
I don't know I don't remember. All I know is that
Yeah,
because
obviously.
you were in the house, you were going to be stuck in the house, and I was not having that.
That
So
was just that was just bad.
it's weird.
I could see somebody thinking they're going to get money from the crystal ones. Not that I would
No, it was
advise
his
that.
house. It was his house.
Oh,
were at
well,
his
that's
house.
crap.
Yeah, he was trying to keep people in the house. That's what was his.
Oh,
my
I
God.
totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye. Yeah.
Do you remember going to parties at Draymond's?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've discussed this before. Do you remember Rob Homeyer?
No. Do you
Any
remember?
chance? Keith Polson. What was Nikki Bauer's brother's name? Like Mark Bauer. Anyway, they were like the older guys that were like still there one night. And Matt Patterson finally, I think I went with Patrick Berry. And but then he went home for some reason. And Matt Patterson, I like begged him. I was like, "Can I just walk home with you?"
Oh, that was when you did the funny substance.
No, that was at the golf course, I think.
Okay.
But
Do you remember
but
Robbie Hall?
Matt Patterson was trying to he didn't want to have a thing to do with me. Like he thought he was too good for me. He lived up the street from me. I was like, "Fuck you."
Same story. Because I feel like
Huh?
I feel like I felt like that was what happened with the other thing too.
I don't know, but it just I just remember he like walked through the whole woods trying to like so I'd get all cut up and everything instead of taking the normal way home. And I've never like and I loved like the younger Chris Patterson. He was younger than us. Matt's my age. And Chris Patterson, hell of a lot better looking than Matt Patterson any day. And Matt used to think he was cool because he'd wear his white blousey pirate shirt, the poofy shirt, and his black pants that he worked in. He would wear that shit to parties.
Wasn't that the Normandy Viking shirt for the band?
I don't think he went to Normandy. They were Catholic. I think they all went to like St. Anna Mercy or God knows the other ones they went to, and so they got kicked out and then had to go to Mercy, and then got kicked out and had to go to Normandy. But
yeah,
but it was like
that'll straighten them out.
Yeah, but it to this day, like I have this thing for him where I don't think I'll hit him anymore, but I would love to tell him what an asshole he was, just because of like me. I don't know. I don't like anybody that isn't like nice. Like he allowed me. It was like he allowed me to follow him.
Oh, wasn't that sweet?
Yeah. And and I knew so many people that could have just beat the shit out of him.
That's the thing that was cool about living in Bonita Park and especially on my street, because it was like a brother and sisterhood. You know what I mean?
Normally, my whole neighborhood was too.
They did not play.
He just didn't. Well, he didn't know me.
You didn't mess with us. Like when you came to Laura's and we talked about all that shit. Laura could hit us. Laura could beat the crap out of us. But if somebody else put their hands on us, they were dead. Dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were smacked around all the time by her and some of the Lawfulmans and stuff, but no one else could touch us. No one.
And why would you guys smack each other around?
Well, I never smacked anybody around because I was always one of the little kids.
I
But
know. Why would she do that?
because kids are dumb. I mean, I don't know. That
That's just my
I mean,
question.
really, it wasn't like it was a constant thing where we were getting beaten all the time.
Right. No, I get it.
But if they were in a mood or whatever, and somebody was gonna, I mean, it only happened. It was a small window of
I
like
get
the
you.
time I was 6 till about 10 or 11 years old. And almost like a proving thing. You know what I mean? And then it was over. But she would, yeah. I mean, I was there. It was those two houses, the Lawfulmans and the Burrigs. When they had you, you were family, and so they treated you just like one of
Like
their
family. There
Right.
you go.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah, I was a
Yeah.
little sister, and a little sister gets slapped, by the big brothers, but nobody else better be touching my.
That's right. Yeah, Karen used to chase Kurt and I into the bathroom. That was the only doors that locked without a skeleton key,
Mhm.
So Kurt and I would go running, man, for, the downstairs we had a little half bathroom and upstairs full bathroom, and just locking that damn door and sitting there scared. She was gonna kill us.
Yeah.
And she was tough. She was like a tank. So, well, I get you.
All right. Do you think I'm going to sign off because I want to watch another episode of True Blood?
There you go. Well, nice to see you all again.
You too.
Bye.
See y'all. Bye.
Yeah.